Hi guys, it's Nancy and I am back with Spellbinders Glimmer, and we are going to be using the new Crossed Lines Cardfront Glimmer hot foil plate, and this comes with the Crossed Lines background plate, which you can see here, and then it also comes with a sentiment which says a little something special for you. So I'll probably stamp this out, or sorry, foil it out so you guys can see it, but I really want to focus on the background, okay? So as you can see, my platform is ready, and we're going to foil on a couple of different things today. So the first one I'm going to bring in for you is the Spellbinders Glimmer Specialty Cardstock. So this is basically like Yupo paper. It's super smooth. It's a synthetic paper. If you are looking for flawless foiling, you will get it here. This is the 25 sheet pack. It's 76 pounds. It tells you there it's synthetic cardstock, and it's $24.99. We're also going to be using the Spellbinder Color Essentials cardstock. Now, this is a much thicker cardstock. This is 100 pounds. Whoops. And I also cut us a piece of the Spellbinders Card Shop Essentials, and this is the Mirror Gold cardstock. So we're going to be foiling on all of these, plus some other colors of the Color Essential cardstock, which is that same 100-pound weight. And we're going to be using different types of foil as well to see how they do. So for this first one that we're going to do on the Glimmer Synthetic cardstock, and I believe these are all cut to 5.5 by 4 1/4, we're going to use everybody's favorite, the Aura foil, which is a gold, basically a holographic gold. So I'm going to cut this about the size of my plate, and I just use some sharp scissors. We're going to put that pretty side down, and I'm going to lay my cardstock right in the middle there. Okay, we're going to hit this button and let that count down. While that's counting down, I'm going to cut some more pieces of foil here. I have the Prism, which is the silver holographic. Now, I like to keep my foils stored in the box because that keeps them safe from getting scratched. It also will help for me to identify my hot foils versus regular toner foils. Okay, so we're going to move this aside. It's almost done blinking. I'm going to bring our platinum machine in. So as soon as that timer button is done blinking green and it stays a solid green, we will be ready. I'm going to cut some of this. What other colors do we have here? How about just regular gold? Oh, we're done blinking. So we're going to just remove our platform, and very gently and slowly we are going to push this through, crank it through. Now, I like to let my panels cool down before I reveal them. So I'm just going to set that aside for a second and we will come back to it. We're going to plug this back into the platform, which is going to connect here at the connector. You want to make sure you have a snug fit there. And again, this tells you there's power. The platform will turn green when it is warm enough. I'm going to use a piece of this Prism, which is the silver holographic foil. And on this one, I'm going to use a piece of, let's see here, I don't know how big this is. Let's cut a piece of this. Should have had it ready. Okay, this is a piece of the teal Color Essentials cardstock by Spellbinders. And I'm using the lines. There's a grid on here, and I'm using the lines to see where my paper should go. So we're going to set the timer on that. Now, what I found in all of my experimenting with regular foiling and hot foiling is that your best bet is always going to be smooth white paper. I know, you know, with the holidays coming, that's when most people do their foiling and making their holiday cards and things like that. And not everybody wants to use plain white paper, and you want to use colored cardstock, which is fine. Just keep in mind that when you use colored cardstock, that paper is normally very thick and porous, so they can dye that paper. And when they dye it, they want it to be porous so that it accepts the color of the dye. So when it's porous and it accepts the color of the dye, generally that means it's not going to be the best at accepting foil, especially when it comes to toner foiling. Now, when it comes to this hot foiling, it's a little bit of a different story. Hot foiling works pretty well with most any paper because this foil kind of has a adhesive built into it, which is activated by heat. So it will stick to almost anything. However, you may not get the smoothest results, again, because it is a more porous paper. Okay, so this one is done. That's the Teal Color Essentials. Again, that is 100 pounds, so it is heavy cardstock. And this one I'm going to be very careful to kind of hold my plate down with my fingers here, and I'm going to try to run it back and forth because it is a thicker cardstock. When I get to the end there, I'm going to carefully run it backwards. Because it is a thicker cardstock, I found that with this more porous cardstock, if you run it through twice very carefully, and you want to make sure it doesn't do the jumping at the end, otherwise it could shift your dies or shift your paper. Okay, so we're going to let that one go. We'll do the reveal here. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to do the gold cardstock. Now this is gold on both sides, so it's just pick which one you like the most. And I think on this one I'm going to do the dark blue cobalt foil. I like to cut my panels down to 5.5 by 4.25. That way, if they are a little too big and I make a mistake with my foiling's crooked, it's not centered, I can always cut these panels down. So while that one is blinking, I think we have enough foil cut. I can do one more piece here, just regular silver. Sometimes it does matter on the type of hot foil you use too. Different manufacturers transfer at a different heat setting. There are other hot foiling machine companies out there, other hot foiling companies out there. So when the foil doesn't transfer, it just usually means that you need either more time, you may need to run it through twice, you may need more heat. So you will have to experiment, and every die cutting machine is different too. Sometimes you need a shim to help with the pressure in your die cutting machine. So keep that in mind. It does take some experimenting to get this to work for your machines. All right, now this one is the gold cardstock, so I think I'm only going to run this through once. Very slow, take my time. Now, from what I understand, the Glimmer will work in your Big Shot, your Big Kick, the Vagabond, the Switch, and obviously the Spellbinders Platinum machine. So all of those it will work in. And I'm just going to keep going here, assembly style, to make these backgrounds. So then all I have to do is apply these to a card front and apply some kind of a sentiment. So don't think because you see this being released during the holidays that it's just for the holidays. That sentiment is very generic. You could use that sentiment, as a gift. It doesn't have to be just during the holidays. Okay, where did I put my extra cardstock? Okay, let's reveal some of these while we're waiting. Okay, so here's the first one, and again, this is called Aura Foil. And this was on the Glimmer specialty cardstock, which is basically like Yupo. It's a synthetic. And as I mentioned before, you're going to get nearly perfect foiling with this. Now I have a little bit of overfoiling, and you want to keep these leftover sheets, by the way. But this is very easily remedied by taking a stiff brush and just gently tapping away at that. And you can see how that excess foil just falls right off. I don't have to erase anything. I don't need to be harsh. I don't want to throw it out. It's perfect. See? Okay, so I knew that one was going to be perfect. That one always is perfect. Okay, the next one was the Prism foil, which is the silver holographic. And this is on the Cardstock Essentials teal cardstock, which is 100 pound. And remember, I slowly ran this one through twice. That one came out pretty nice as well. Now, it's not foiled all the way down here because that's where I stopped when I was rolling through the process, because I wanted to make sure that I was able to roll this through twice, because again, this thicker cardstock, a lot of times if you don't have enough pressure, you don't roll it through twice, you're not going to get all of that foil to adhere. But that looks pretty good as well. Okay, so we know that the Color Essentials cardstock works great. We have another piece of that right here. This is the new mahogany color, and this one I'm only going to run through once to see how it does, so you guys can see the difference. And I believe I have the opal foil on here, which is a clear iridescent foil. Yep, so we're going to give that a second to cool down. And then last but not least, I have a piece of red cardstock. Now for the red one, I'm going to do the sentiment and the frame at the same time using one piece of foil. I love that the sentiment is separate so that I can choose to do it with or without the sentiment. Okay, so let's reveal the Cobalt one. And this is on the Glimmer Gold foil cardstock. And that, oh, stunning. Because this is super smooth, it takes foil beautifully. It looks like I lost a corner there. Still beautiful. Okay. And then this one is the new mahogany. Let me make sure. Yep, the new mahogany Color Essentials cardstock. So again, this is 100 pound weight. It's very thick. I only ran this through once, and this is using the opal glimmer foil, which is very translucent, as you can see here, but it will leave this kind of holographic effect. We have a little bit of overfoiling. Again, not going to freak out. This foil does tend to overfoil. I've noticed when I've used it in the past. And again, all you're going to do is just take a brush with a stiff bristle. And you're going to wipe off any of that excess overfoiling. Now, if you have overfoiling in some place that you can't get it out with a brush, then you're going to take your Mono Sand Eraser, and you're just going to go in and just lightly erase that. And the foil will come right up. That looks beautiful. Okay, so far so good. Okay, the last one is going to be the red Color Essentials cardstock using the regular gold foil. And on this one, I've added the sentiment in the center. So we'll see how that looks. Now, I am going to run this through twice. I'm going to get to the end. And then, whoops, I didn't really want it to do the a little snap there, but we're going to go back and hopefully I don't get double foiling. There we go. Okay, let's see how this looks. Yep, that little jump. So that little jump at the end, push this up a little bit. It's actually not too bad, but you can tell that it did a little jump there. That's okay. We will fix that. I'm going to move my Glimmer out of the way for just a moment. And just want to let this cool down. When you let it cool down, you have better adhesion of your foil. And we have a little bit of overfoiling over here. Can you see how that center sentiment jumped? So we have a double line there. Can you see that? That's because when I got to the end, I went too far off of the plate. So how we're going to fix that is we're going to cut it out. And I have a little bit of overfoiling, mostly on the right side of my plate here. So I'm going to go in with my mono sand eraser. And because this is regular cardstock, it's not a synthetic cardstock. It's not a foiled cardstock. It's not going to hurt anything using the mono sand eraser. You want to be very careful on any kind of cardstock that has any kind of coating on it. If it's glossy or something like that, if you try to run your eraser on there, it's going to mess up your cardstock. It's going to flaw the finish of that cardstock. So you want to be careful with that. But in this case, you can see I can run that eraser right over, take all that overfoiling off, and all that's left are my beautiful lines, and all the overfoiling is gone. Okay, so how do we fix this? We can do two things. One, we can foil it again on another piece of paper and cut it out and layer it on top of it, or we can cut it out. So this is just a little X-Acto knife, a little finger knife. And I might want to use a ruler as a guide. This is a glass mat, so I'm just going to cut right on top of that. I don't know why that totally went off that one edge there, but that's okay. Maybe my ruler is crooked. That's possible. That was better. All right, so we're just gonna pop this out. Did not do well cutting on this side. My blade went totally astray. He went everywhere except where I wanted him to go. Oh no. Oh no. Can't have that. Okay. Whoops. A little too close for comfort over here too. All right, close enough. Okay, so now I can take my mistake out. I can always fix this later. But there's a couple of different ways now that I can put these cards together. So let's foil that sentiment again. Let me turn this back on. I'm going to take my plate off, and I'm just going to foil sentiment. So I'm going to give that a minute to warm up. And in the meantime, I can start to assemble my cards here. These would be great to prepare as birthday cards. And because these are 5.5 by 4.25, if there are any mistakes that my plate's not straight or my corner got bitten off, like on that one gold one. Where did I put the eraser? Threw it in with the scissors. I can always cut these down to fit better. So this is 5.5 by 4.25. Now this one I think looks pretty good. Actually, I think it's a little long on this side and this side. So we're gonna cut this down to 5.25 by 4. Okay, so now that one's ready to go, and I just need a sentiment in the center of this one. This one I definitely need to cut down. Okay, my sentiment is ready, so let me put my cardstock in here. We'll do the white cardstock. And I can change the color too. So if I want to change it to where was that extra piece of foil? Here we go. Here's silver. Okay. Now, obviously, if you want to make sure that you are cutting this so it's perfectly centered, you can measure it. I often just eyeball, but that's personal preference. I know some people are very precise with theirs. I like that one the way that it is. And this one's okay. There's also a wonderful sentiment set, which are the Glimmer Merry Holidays sentiment set, which not only you can glimmer, but it comes with the dies to cut out. So we can glimmer some of these and cut the dies out, and I think we'll do that also on white cardstock. Or we could do it on the gold. You know what? Yeah, let's do it on the gold. So for these, we're going to do those all at once. So we'll do those in a second. Let's run this through. Off and put it on our silicone pad to cool down. And let's see here. Let's do we'll do Merry and Bright. And we're going to die cut these out. So I'm going to try to make the most use of my cardstock here. So we're going to do Merry and Bright, and we're going to do, we can do another Merry Christmas in a minute, and then we can do Season's Greetings. just going to do one of everything. How many can I fit? Okay. So we're going to do each one at least once. Okay. And since I'm doing gold cardstock, let me grab red foil. If you are interested in doing your holiday foiling, I would suggest purchasing your red, green, gold, and white foil pack now. It sells out very quickly during the holiday season. Okay, I'm going to give that a second to warm up. I'm going to move all the dies out of the way. We'll come back and cut that in a minute. For this one, I am going to cut this down. Let's reveal it. Beautiful. And I'm just going to cut these corners off a little bit here, because this one's going to go inside that other one. Hopefully I didn't chop too much off here. I should have traced an outline now that I think about it. I think we'll be fine. Okay, so we have a little something special for you. And then we have the red frame that we cut it out of. And look at that, it fits perfect. So all we have to do now is glue that in there. And there's some dimension. I'm going to fix this before we glue that one together. That looks good. That would make a great holiday card or birthday card. Or any other reason, just thinking about you card. Let's run the other sentiments through and see what they look like. And we're just going to pass this through once. We know that the gold card foils very well. And we don't want our dies to jump and double foil. Oh, beautiful, perfect foiling. Let's bring our matching dies into this. I love that Spellbinders does that. I'm going to turn the glimmer off because we're pretty much done with that. And I like to use a little bit of low tack tape. And you want to be careful when you're taping your dies on. You don't want to get that tape on top of where you foiled because it will lift that foil. So you want to be very careful with your tape to keep it on the outside, because otherwise you risk that foil getting lifted. So I want little pieces of tape. Very easy to see through and line up. So you see, just from making a few backgrounds, foiling all of the sentiments at once, I'm going to have a couple of cards here ready to go fairly quickly, you guys. Very little effort, very little agitation, and you know what the best part is? Whoever the recipient is going to think you bought it because it's foiled and they don't believe that you made it. You're probably making your cards at home and stamping and coloring them and, you know, or buying them or printing them off a computer or whatever you're doing. But no one's going to believe that you took the time to foil them a card. And look at all of these dies. Every single one of these sentiments has a matching die. So it doesn't matter if you mess up the foiling. It doesn't matter if you mess up the alignment, because you can just cut it out and do it again. How many times has that happened where you foiled something and then, oops, that one's not going to fit. We'll come back to that one. And then realized it was crooked and you couldn't go back and fix it. Well, this way, because it has the dies, and look, I still plenty of real estate on this gold cardstock that I can put more hot foil dies down and cut some more out, foil and cut some more out. Okay, so that's ready to go. And now it's just going to be assembly. By the way, since my Glimmer is done heating up, I have turned it off and disconnected the platform. That way it doesn't get overheated. That way I kind of prolong the life of my machine. Because if I'm not actively using it, I do turn it off and disconnect that platform from the base. Now, I know a lot of people like videos that are quick. I don't want to do an edited video where you don't see every step of the way. I want you to see my mistakes. I want you to see how I correct them. So all of this is in real time that I'm doing this so that you can learn to follow along and use your foiling machine. You have a few months until Christmas is here. This collection is the July 2022 release. So you can order it now and start practicing using your machine. You have spent money on the machine, on the foils. And these are beautiful releases to help you get started on those holiday cards. Do not get discouraged. I have a lot of videos that I can help you guys out with learning how to do this. So we have Merry Christmas. We have Season's Greetings, which we didn't cut out yet. We have Sending Wishes. We have Merry and Bright. So there's a lot of sentiments there. And all we need to do now is let's just put it together. That's it. Okay, so here's one that I didn't cut down. I'm just going to leave that full like that. I can change the color of my foil. I can change the color of my background. I can change the color of my sentiments. I mean, I can make this any way I want. On this one, I could redo that sentiment, cut it out of colored cardstock and put it in here. I might do that with this one, because that one's kind of plain. And experiment with the different papers you have. Not all of them are going to come out flawless. That's why you make a whole bunch at once and you pick the ones that you think came out the best. Then we can embellish this. You have poinsettias or ornaments. There's a lot of embellishing you could do on here. The new gems that Spellbinders came out with this year would look beautiful on here. So I'm being pretty basic here. I probably should put a block on here to hold this down. You can make it as busy or as basic as you want. If you're like me and you don't have a lot of time to make a lot of cards, then you leave it pretty basic. You know what? It's the thought that counts. that you made a card for someone and you sent it to them. If you're someone that likes to make each card individually, one at a time, that's okay too. There is no right or wrong way to be a card maker. It's totally up to you on how much time you want to put into something. I like using this glue. This is art glitter glue. Use what you have because it dries fairly quickly. So in instances like this where I'm gluing on synthetic paper and I'm gluing on foil card, I want it to dry quickly. I don't want it to slide around all over the place. And having a big block like that helps to do that. Okay, so obviously I didn't cut out enough of those sentiments, but you guys get the idea. I hope you had fun watching me foil on these different types of cardstocks. I will put the link of everything down below for you. If you have any questions, post them in comments. If you had fun, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, consider subscribing to my channel and clicking the bell so that you get notifications whenever I post new videos. Here you go, all of the different types of cardstocks that we foiled on. And this is using the new Merry Glimmer Holiday Sentiments and also using the new Crossed Lines Cardfront Glimmer Hot Foil Plate from Spellbinders. Everything will be linked down below for you. Thanks for watching, guys, and keep on foiling. Bye!